Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled Really, I Don't Work Here Anymore. About 12 years ago I worked for a fast food company that had a division just for telephone orders. I was a desk jockey who had to listen to some of the biggest creeps you can imagine, and some of the sweetest people as well. Biggest drawback was having to work until 2 a.m. 2 shifts out of 5, where the scheduler was a total power mad knob. If she didn't like you, 2 a.m. closes were scheduled on your second and fourth shifts with a 9 a.m. start after each. Otherwise you were scheduled at 11 a.m. 9 a.m. starts meant you cleaned the lunchroom, and dumped everyone's garbages from their desks. Not a big deal, but finish at 2 a.m., take bus home, get some sleep, take bus back to start at 9 a.m. It was pretty rough for some people. I was only getting 4 hours sleep on those turnaround days. Anyway, 7 to 8 months in, and I find another job. I give verbal notice to my immediate supervisor. I give written notice to the office manager. In my written notice I detailed my reasons why I was leaving. First was the abuse from the scheduler. Since our office was 7 days a week, and there was a staff of 80 order takers, there was no reason to mess with people like Chantal did. I ended the letter explaining that I start the new job on X date, that Y date is my final date with the employer. 5-day gap so I can have a small vacation. Last day come, office manager asked me into her office for my exit interview. Things go well. She clarified that I have ended with them 5 days before I start new job. I agree, explain that I am taking a mini vacation before new job starts. I hand in my swipe card, my work ID, and my key. I get her to sign a receipt that I turned them in and she accepted them. 2 days later I get a call from a shift supervisor. Hi, it's 12 noon. You haven't called in, so where are you? I'm confused by this call. I explain that I quit, my last day was 2 days ago. I gave notice over 2 weeks ago, to her and management. She acknowledges our conversation, but says she thought I said I was thinking of quitting, not actually quitting. I tell her to talk to Mrs. Manager. Now, I've been burned at other crap jobs before, so when I gave my written notice, I made the manager sign and date a receipt that she received the letter, and again at the exit interview she signed and dated a receipt that I turned in everything. Supervisor calls me back, says manager has no memory of any of this, and no letter. I am on the schedule, and if I don't come in I am fired. Now this employer has a habit of doing this to people. Basically, if they can't work you as their slave, they make sure you are not eligible to apply for benefits. My mom used to date a lawyer, so I go see him. Lay it out for him, including my signed receipts, and ask for advice, as I am worried they are going to mess up my new job. Apparently, he's already heard about this employer through the grapevine. He says he'll take care of it. I go home and find 3 messages from that manager, telling me I'm a liar, I never gave notice, I still have my card and key, etc. I call the lawyer, play it all for him. He sends someone over to record the messages. Supervisor calls 2 days later, at 9 a.m., asking if I am coming in for this shift. Nope. I don't work here. I quit, remember? 3 hours later supervisor calls again. She apologizes for bothering me when I no longer work there. Apparently the lawyer went, himself, with a sheriff's deputy, to deliver the letter. That interview started with showing her the receipts that she signed for and accepted my letter of resignation, and my card, keys, etc. She agreed that she signed these, she went through her desk and produced the card, keys, etc. Since these were supposed to be turned into the admin staff, deputy tells her he's going to arrest her for theft. Lawyer then plays the voicemail recordings. Lawyer is threatening to charge her with harassment. Owner showed up for a site visit that morning and came to see why there was a sheriff's vehicle out front. Lawyer explains everything, not just my case. Turns out it took the lawyer 2 days as he was pulling everything he could find about this office and this manager. Owner had no idea it was this bag. Places like this have a high turnover anyway, so he never thought there was anything weird about the seemingly revolving door. I finished the call with the supervisor with, okay, so we are agreed, I don't work there, right? And that I quit. The next story is titled I Do Work Here, but Not For You. Back when I used to do construction, we had several job sites going on at the same time, and one of my buddies had this happen to him on a job site. He went to do some finish work on an electric room at a mall that was being constructed. Everything else for it was done, so he was there by himself. When he got hungry, at least he noticed the other tradesmen who were working on another part of the project were all sitting in the same area, so he joined them. A short, real loud-mouthed guy came over and started yelling at them and was apparently their foreman, so they all cowered and listened. He kept ranting about they needed to work harder and faster. Apparently they weren't union, but my buddy was. He just kept eating. "Hey a-hole, I'm talking to you. Put your FN sandwich down and listen to me." That got his attention real quick. "F you," and just kept eating. Went back and forth for a couple of minutes, told him where to put his temper and his short man complex, had everyone laughing. Figured the guy would give up and leave when he finally realized he didn't work for him. "I don't take this from anyone. You're fired. I'm gonna cut you a check now and you'll never work for us again." He actually stormed off to the job trailer and started writing out a check. After about 10 minutes everyone was getting up to go back to work, and the guy came back out. Do you work here? Not for you a-hole." He kept to himself the rest of the day. The next story is titled "Woman Parks Too Close to My Car, Then Demands I Move So She Can Get In." I used to work at a fast food restaurant. We shared the car park with customers, and since it was a service station where people on long trips could stop to refuel and refresh, you can imagine it got quite busy. Anyway, I started at 5 a.m. and finished my shift a few hours later. I went out to my car and noticed someone had parked next to me, but at an angle so their front bumper was very close to my car's back end. I always drive straight in. The person next to me had reversed. It's situations like these I'm lucky I'm thin, but I still had to twist awkwardly to get in. I checked my phone and noticed an important call which I needed to return before my drive home. Halfway through the call I noticed a woman in my rear view mirror staring at my car with her hands on her hips. I watched her as she came to her car, made a big deal out of trying to open the door and squeeze in. She then slammed her door, banged on my window and said, "Are you moving or what? I can't get in." "Sure. Your bad parking is my fault." I was at the end of my phone call, and luckily a space right in front of me was free so I could drive straight out without having to risk reversing to avoid her car. The next story is titled "If Only He Asked Nicely I Could Have Told Him I Don't Work Here." I get asked for help lots whenever I am in tech stores or game stores. I guess making eye contact and smiling. Mommy taught me good. And having a beard makes me a nerd, so obviously I must work there. Which is weird because I am usually wearing a Superman shirt, shorts and flip-flops. Nothing like the get-ups retail workers have with black pants and whatnot. I always try and help if people ask me nicely because it's the right thing to do, and I love how they get confused when I don't want to come check them out for my commission or whatever. I don't know how stores work. On the other hand, if they are rude I play along and give bad advice cause why not, it's hilarious. Or if they are aggressive I just escalate straight back at them. Only learnt this skill recently as getting older seems to correlate with giving less ducks, and young me would have just frozen like a deer in headlights. Anywho, less rambling, more story. My favorite interaction in mistaken retail slavery was in games. A nice mum, probably 30-ish, asked me about buying her son Saint Row like he wanted, so I chatted for a bit and talked her into getting him Skyrim or something alike instead, as she quickly agreed that game where you beat people to death with dildo bats probs ain't the best for little Jimmy. I don't know if she thought I worked there or not, it was just a nice human interaction and all was well. She thanked me and walked off, then up walks Douchelord, DL. Since I was helping somebody I must work here. Douchelord was one of those prissy little 18 to 21-year-olds that thinks because they wear a $200 suit and work in an office they are a big businessman and ain't got time for nobody. He stomps straight up to me and squares off while I'm happily reading the back of PS4 game and demands, "DL, do you have any copies of UFC? Get it for me." Me, "No idea, have you checked there?" Point to the shelf of mixed up PS4 games in front of me. DL, "No, for Xbox," plus stares like I'm an idiot. Me, "No idea bro, ask them," then point to Eb crew at desk. DL, looks me up and down like I'm dirt and stomps off to desk. I continue looking over games, killing time while GF does shopping. I get put at Eb so I'm not annoying. It's like man-child creche. Thinking about what a little prick the ducker was. When I get surprised by the following from behind me and spin round wondering what is going on. DL, Oi, there's one copy of UFC left in there, go find it, points at the big bin of missed games. One of the big bins in the middle of the store Ebbs always seem to have full of stuff nobody wants. Me. It takes me a moment to collect my thoughts, then I smile at him and say, sure thing boss, as I know exactly how this is going to play out from now on. DL. Pulls out his phone and does whatever douches do on their phones. Me. Walk over to the bin and spend a min or so finding the game in the mess of old crap it is full of. Score, I find it and it's only $20 per $30. I be ninja and take the route to the counter that goes behind a pillar. I buy the game and beeline for the shop exit. As I round the corner out of the shop I call out to DL, later boss. The way his face changed from indignant to confused was awesome, and I went on my merry way, leaving him to find out that the final copy was sold. I never got to play the game, I don't own an Xbox. And that's the story of my pettiest moment. I hope you all enjoyed it. The next story is titled Apparently Being Tall Equals Shelf Stacker Obligated to Help. Today, I braved the wilds of Lidl to do my weekly food shop. Anyone who's been to Lidl knows the uniform. I was in an Iron Maiden t-shirt and jeans. I seem to be a magnet for people who need help in shops. I'll always help where I can, but only polite people. As a tall lady, little over 6 feet, I'm constantly asked to reach for things. I usually don't mind. Today, I was pondering the complexities of tinned tomatoes when I heard an impatient ahem behind me. Assuming I was in the way, I sidestepped and apologized through my mask. I locked eyes with a woman I assume was in her late 40s, a good foot shorter than me. She proceeds to raise her eyebrows at me and go, well? Aren't you going to help me? Whilst gesturing at the top shelf, the front row had gone. She then asked if I was deaf, or just stupid. I smiled through my mask and just pushed the tray of tins back a few centimeters on the shelf and walked off. She followed me through the shop tutting, muttering something about young people and lazy staff. I heard her loudly complaining about the rude, tattooed slob of a shelf stacker at the next till over. I just turned and waved at her. She went nuclear, and the checkout staff was just like, ma'am, she doesn't work here. Do you have a points card? Petty? Yes. Deserved? Absolutely. The next story is titled I do actually work here, sir. Pretty short one, but I thought it was amusing. So 2 or 3 years ago I was a revenue office assistant at a major Midwest zoo. One of my jobs was to, once or twice a week, go around to all of the vending machines in the zoo, remove the bills, replace any change that was running low, and make a note of products that were out. Usually I'd be driven to each location by a security officer with a golf cart, due to not wanting to walk miles around a massive zoo alone with a bag full of money. Not to mention it was often super hot out, and not having to walk around in restrictive dress pants in 100 degrees plus heat was a blessing. Plus most of the security staff were pretty cool and I liked hanging out with them if I could. It was a fairly busy day at the zoo, and I was being driven to one of the really far away machines by my favorite security guard. We passed a few people on the path and he dropped me off at the machine so I could get to work. I pulled out my keys to start opening up the exterior door of the vending machine as the people we passed caught up to us. I hear the guy say to his wife, "Oh look, she's special." Then louder to me, "Well, aren't you special?" I shot him a confused look and keep working. "You get to be escorted just to get a soda." His wife kind of tugged on his sleeve and mumbled, "Honey, I think she works here," but he didn't care. He was ready to go off on me. I unlocked the first lock and went to unlock the second. Don't we all wish we could have our own cop too? I finished unlocking the door and swung it open while making eye contact with him. "Oh," he says, and rushes off avoiding eye contact with me. His wife again says, "I told you she worked here." I have no idea how it wasn't obvious I was an employee. Despite not wearing a zookeeper uniform, I still had a zoo name badge, a photo ID on my belt, a radio, a zoo-issued cash bag, and a big set of keys. The security officer was silently watching the whole thing and we had a good laugh about it. I hope Mr. Sodaman made a stop by the petting zoo later to relieve some stress. The next story is titled I'm 4 years old. What's your excuse? Little background. Since I became an adult and stopped working retail, I get an IDWHL almost every month. My wife says it's something on my face. This is the first time one of my kids was present. Also, for the place that happened. In my country, we have small shops that sell fresh products, mainly vegetables. On to the story. This happened in August. We live in a coastal city, walking distance from the beach. We both had 2 weeks off from work and spent every day at the beach with the kids. We usually go early in the morning and stay until noon and then maybe go back in the evening. That day my wife had left early with our oldest to prep lunch and I stayed behind with our 4-year-old daughter. As we were preparing to leave, my wife called to tell me to pick some fresh vegetables we had ran out. The grocery store was on our way home, so it was okay. So we stop at the store, I exchange pleasantries with the owner, an old classmate of mine, and stay outside looking for what we need, while my daughter entered the store to talk with the owner's son, same age, same preschool. The owner has 2 customers inside the store. Next to me is a lovely old lady that asks if I can help put some of her groceries in her cart, especially 2 5-kilogram bags of potatoes. I see no reason not to and I put them in the cart. She ranks me, half in my language half in Russian. I replied in kind. I understand some of the language because some relatives of my grandma were from there and picked up some of language when I was growing up. She smiles and waves goodbye and I return to my browsing. And the Karen emerges. I want 3 kilograms of onions, 4 kilograms of potatoes and 3 kilograms of tomatoes. And be fast about it. I'm in a hurry. I turned around to see a middle-aged woman in a sundress, sunglasses, big hat, stereotypical Karen haircut, with her arms crossed in front of her and tapping her foot. Because the store is self-service and I'm wearing swim trunks, an old t-shirt, flip-flops, I'm having my beach towel draped on my shoulder and carrying a ridiculously huge beach bag, I give her no mind and return to my shopping. Big mistake. Karen decides to break social distancing and grabs me by the shoulder. I gave you an order, boy. I'm 40 yo by the way. Now do it or I'll get you fired. I don't work here, I reply and take a step backwards. Don't give me that BS. I saw you helping that other woman. She kindly asked for my help to move the bags. I still don't work here. So you only help your compatriots, you little crap? What a disgrace, and goes on a very racist rant, cursing every other word. At some point, we had gathered spectators. The owner had come out, along with the kids. And my daughter decides to come to my rescue. My daughter doesn't like people fighting and finds creative ways to break them. Why are you screaming at my father? He already told you he doesn't work here. My daughter chips in when Karen stopped for breath. Because he doesn't know his place. Now go away, Karen replies and starts to continue her rant. The owner is about to step in, when my daughter turns around, drops her bikini bottom, moons her and blow a raspberry. The Karen is momentarily stunned. That's rude. She manages to say. Well, I'm 4. What's your excuse? My daughter replies, fixing her bottoms. At that point everybody, except Karen, starts laughing. Karen is doing her best imitation of a fish, her mouth opening and closing with no sound coming out. At that point, the owner steps in and tells her to leave and that her business is not welcomed there. The rest of us have a good laugh, we pick our groceries and go home. For the rest of our vacation, my daughter would accompany me to the store and she was always scanning the customers with a hand clasped on the side of her bikini bottoms. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.